Hi, I'm Jim Thaxter. I'm an engineering aide for the City of Columbia Public Works Department. I'd like to talk a little bit today about some issues that we have with stormwater, maybe give you some ideas of how to manage stormwater in your yard, let you know what the city takes care of, what the city doesn't take care of, and just why we're concerned about stormwater and what we can all do together to try to manage it. Drainage easement is an area that's been designated as an area for water to flow. We know that there's going to be water falling all over the city anytime it rains, and so we try to make provisions for a place for that water to go, and where we know water is going to collect in a channel, for instance, we would designate that as an easement, and the property still belongs to the property owner. The city doesn't actually take possession of that property, but the easement is a restriction on that property so that you can't build anything on it, you can't do anything to block the drainage through there, so you're not creating problems for your neighbors or for creating flooding on the streets or in your neighbors' houses, things like that. Since the city does not maintain the easement, the property owner can do some maintenance on it themselves. The property owner here has put some rock along the channel to help control erosion along the ditch banks, and they've used about 6 to 8 inch size rock here, which seems to be about the right size for this particular channel. If you had a bigger channel, you might want to use bigger rock because you'll have more water flowing, and more water will move bigger rock. But this seems to be about the right size for this one, except maybe along next to the tree here where some of it's washed out on the outer part of the curve. So he might want to come in and consider putting some bigger rock or some flat rock on there that will kind of push the water away from this bank and keep it out in the middle of the channel. So the city maintains the pipes, property owner maintains the ditch, but the city does maintain an area about 10 feet out from the end of the pipe. So here's the end of the pipe, and the city will put some rock in and clean out this area right in front of the pipe to make sure that it's free to flow. A lot of times this is where some trees might grow up, sediment accumulates and might block part of the entrance to the pipe, or the exit of the pipe either, for that matter. So we'll take care of about 10 feet from both ends of the pipe, the inlet and the other end at the outlet too. So the city will do that much outside of the pipe, but the rest of the ditch is the property owner's responsibility. This box is called an area inlet. This is a stormwater box. It's concrete, it's got a concrete top, and it's open on 4 sides. So water from the surrounding neighborhood can flow down into here. It's also connected to a pipe that goes to the next street up, and it goes to the next street down too. So it carries the water through, also picks up water, like I said, from the neighborhood here. This box is in a drainage easement, so the city maintains this box. Sometimes people will want to put fences around these boxes because they don't like the looks of it, or they're concerned about the safety of their children or pets in the neighborhood. And it's okay to put a fence around here as long as it's not a tight fence that water can't get through. We have to be able to let the water get through so it can get to this box, so we're not flooding any of the yards in the neighborhood. So that's the important thing to notice about this box. Water has to be able to get to it. So it's okay to fence it, just don't make it a real tight fence. The city still maintains the box, but if you want to fence it, the city's not responsible for the fence. If we need to come in and do some maintenance, replace this box or do some repairs on it, we're going to have to take the fence down, and it may be up to the property owner to put the fence back up again when we're done. Now, there might be a box like this in backyards because we want to get more water out of the yards in the neighborhood, because neighbors have been complaining about house flooding. Water may be accumulating in the yards and flowing into the basements, like coming in through basement windows or through doors. If it's getting in through the foundation, through groundwater, we don't do too much about that. Here we've got a little stream that's running through kind of a park-like area, and the point that we want to make here is that there's kind of a stream buffer along the edge of it. So coming back about 8 feet or so from the edge of the stream, the vegetation hasn't been mowed. It's been allowed to grow up, and so this provides a place for the water to slow down as it's running off into the stream. That helps take some of the pollutants and sediment out of the water before it gets to the stream, keeps the stream a little bit cleaner. It also helps, all the vegetation here also helps to stabilize the stream, keep it from eroding, helps the stream bank so that they don't erode out. These grasses have some fairly deep roots, and they're fibrous roots that help hold the soil in place. So those types of roots are better than something like a shrub root that might have a long straight taproot. That taproot doesn't really do much to hold the soil in place. It goes down deep and it helps pull the water out to keep it dry, helps the soil dry out again after the rain. But the fibrous roots do a lot more to hold the soil in place along the stream bank. Things like this oak tree are nice to have along here too. These trees will provide some shade for the creek and keep it a little bit cooler as the trees get older, and that shade can help the wildlife, frogs, turtles, and things that want to live in the water down here. So the whole thing adds up to a whole system of a healthy stream system. So we like to see the vegetation along here. What some people like to do, and when we discourage it though, some people like to take their grass clippings and their leaves and they dump them out here along the stream bank, and they think that that's going to help hold the bank in place. Well, it's not really going to do much, because the leaves and the grass don't have those fibrous roots that get down into the soil and really help hold the soil in place. They help, if you dump your grass clippings, that helps prevent the impact of the raindrop from loosening the soil and causing erosion, but it doesn't really help any to hold the soil in place from the stream, from the water that runs down the stream. So we'd much rather see living vegetation along stream banks, because that does a much better job of controlling the bank erosion. Clean-cut golf course, look all the way to the edge, as we try to discourage that. You've got the roots there, but the more you're cutting the tops, then you're also taking away from the root system. So if you let the tops grow, then you're letting the roots grow more too. So you want those roots to get down there and hold the soil in place. This is an area where water does run off. This is kind of a poor example of a buffer area along a stream. And so this kind of helps contribute to the erosion of the stream bank too, because there's not much vegetation here to hold the water back as it runs toward the stream to get to it. So, a nice idea here would be to get some shrubs in here, maybe trim some of the tree branches back to open it up a little bit, get a little more sunlight down here so the plants can do a little better. Again, plant some roots in here put some plants in that have deep roots to help hold the soil in place, and keep it back about 8 to 10 feet maybe from the stream bank. Kind of depends on how far or how big the stream is. But here we're kind of on a bend, so you might want to just do the whole area around the bend, on the inside of the bend like that, to stabilize the soil, help slow the water down, help keep the water clean, helps maintain a healthy water system for us. Another problem we see along stream banks, in fact we see it on streets, we see it in neighborhoods, it's pretty much all over town, and that's the litter that people throw out. Some of it just gets thrown out here, some of it's been washed down the stream. As the stream floods, then this gets carried out onto the bank and it gets deposited there. It's a real problem for some of the wildlife that live out here. Turtles can get caught in those 6-pack rings that are around soda bottles and cans. Birds try to eat some of the small pieces of plastic, and of course it's not digestible, it's not good for them, it can kill them, and it gets just unsightly out here. It's just not a good thing to have. We have litter containers all over town, and that's the place that you want to put your litter. But you take your trash home with you, put it in the trash at home, take it to the landfill. Questions I get from people is that they're getting water in their basement and they want to know why. And a lot of times it's because they don't have proper drainage away from this house, or away from their house. This particular house has a nice slope down away from the foundation, so that as water comes down out of the downspout, it just runs right on down the hill. Water that flows straight out of the sky falls, hits that same slope and goes on down and stays away from the house. If you don't have this slope away from the house, you can have water accumulate up against the foundation. It flows down to the basement, and then it seeps in under the foundation and gets into the basement that way. So the best thing to do, one of the best things to do to keep water out of your basement is have a slope away from the house like this. Standing water in between houses, in yards, in neighborhoods, that happens because there are some low areas in yards sometimes. Yards settle over time, and it's not always evenly, so sometimes you'll end up with a low spot in your yard that doesn't drain very well, and of course then you'll end up with standing water after a rainstorm. What some people like to try to do is fill that area in, but all that really does is it pushes the water someplace else. You might be pushing it up against your house, where you could have water coming down along your foundation, seeping into your basement or into your crawl space. So, but a better solution for that would be to put maybe a little bit of fill in there. But before you put the fill in, put in a drain system under that wet spot. Find a low spot someplace farther out, maybe toward the street. Bury a pipe in there and some gravel and a French drain type system. And if anybody's interested in that, we have some ideas for that at the City Public Works office. And that French drain helps to collect water from that low spot, carry it out to another low spot where it can drain out. You can daylight the pipe at a lower spot than your low spot in your yard, so the water flows out, helps to drain that area. So this rock is a nice project for this particular property owner, and it's pretty well contained on his own property, although he's made some provisions for some of his neighbors to empty their gutter downspouts or their yard drainage into it too, which is a real nice thing for him to do for his neighbors. If you want to plan a project like this, take your neighbors into consideration when you're doing it. See if you might be able to help them out a little bit too, see if they might have some problems that you can help them with, or see if they would like to work cooperatively with you and extend the project onto their property too. A lot of times water doesn't just stay on one property, it affects more than one person, and so what one person does can affect their neighbors too, so it's a good idea to work with your neighbors. Just try to be a good neighbor when you're doing something like this.